Showtime. It's showtime. We're on. How you doing? Sitting next to me virtually in the Thunderpop Dome for the 156th episode, season 7 of the Thunderpop Show. I'm joined by the one and only sitting next to me virtually from the Jazz Cave to the Thunderpop Dome, the one and only Jazz One.
What's up, Cat? How you, man?
Oh man, it's just too good to see you. Give this man some applause. Some fake ass applause from the soundboard. But there'll be nothing fake ass about this show tonight. I promise. With my fake ass smile looking at the camera. Oh man. Let's get this party started. Right. Jazz One. I'm doing a smaller version of this so I don't knock over my mic. I'm doing. What was that? What was this move? I forgot what they call it. What is it called?
The Cabbage Patch.
Oh, the Cabbage Patch. Yeah. I've seen you Cabbage Patch before, Jazz. I know you're a man that can bust out a Cabbage Patch when the time calls for it. I know you've used it from time to time. Is it possible that we'll ever see someone do the Cabbage Patch dance in a Star Wars live action?
I don't know.
Somebody at a cantina pulling that out of their. Have we seen much dancing in Star Wars? I know we've seen bands play. We've seen music. We had that, the Star Wars Visions was out months ago, and we saw a rock band in Star Wars anime.
Oh, yeah.
The punk band. And then we had kind of a little bit of a cyberpunk vibe with the moped gang in the new Boba Fett series.
Oh, yeah.
Have we seen, and we saw some more music playing from a cantina in Tatooine. They love their band, the live music in Tatooine. They love their bands. It's the live music capital of Star Wars. And Austin is sometimes just as hot and dry.
Oh, I hear you, bro.
So we've got some things in common with Tatooine. Same water situation.
Bruh, just last week, man.
I think they have to boil their water at least 4 times a year in Tatooine. 4 times.
I was looking for some of them black melons for water.
Yeah, I think we needed some of those black melons. So there's some crossover similarities between Tatooine and Austin. I don't know if Tatooine's known for tacos though, for really good tacos.
Oh no, do you ever have a Banta taco?
I should hold off before I.
It's got to be cooked right, but
yeah, it's who makes it, right?
Exactly.
Is it the carne asada? Star Wars. All regional Austin and Texas reference people from we'll get these references. Anyway, I'm Steven Presley, joined by Jazz One. We're gonna have the 156th episode. We're gonna react to the Book of Boba Fett that just wrapped up chapter 7, the finale. So we're gonna react to that. So there will be spoilers. After we roll our intro, when we come back, it is spoiler alert all the way through the show for Book of Boba Fett. And so just give you a heads up on that. We're opening a show with a Thunder Take because it is Super Bowl Sunday weekend. And we're going to have a Thunder Take for the Super Bowl. I'm going to pitch you who I think should do this next year's Super Bowl halftime show, because they start talking about it. As soon as this Super Bowl is over, we'll pivot to who's going to be the halftime show for next year. And that'll go on for a series of months until they land on somebody. And, years they were going and after the Janet Jackson wardrobe malfunction, they went real safe.
Oh yeah.
And they brought in a lot of old rockers, legends, icons, but they went safer. They went with people they thought, and it progressively then they started to loosen up on it, because it started off like with a polka band from Westfest, Texas. And then they gradually they had Rolling Stones, and then they got to Prince, a little less safe than maybe the Rolling Stones. Prince might show up in his pants with the butt cheeks cut out. So, there could still be some nudity if you bring in Prince and his dancers and whatnot. But they've kind of loosened up over the years, and they've gotten back to more contemporary. They had last year they had The Weeknd. They had Jennifer Lopez and Shakira, who
Oh
was,
yeah.
I think, that was one of the greatest halftime shows ever. Was Shakira and Jennifer. But anyway, they had these different less safe. They kind of gotten a little less safe now. I think it should come full circle. I'll tell you who I think. I got a great idea. I think it would make a huge splash for the NFL if they did this next year. So I'm going to pitch this to you. We'll have our usual tropes: agree or disagree, thoughts and advice, all that stuff. Jazz One's going to talk a little Super Bowl too. He's even though his NFL team's not in the Super Bowl, he does have some things to be excited about with this Super Bowl. Would you agree, Jazz?
Oh, absolutely. I can't wait.
Yeah. And we've got one of our friends already in, Facebook users, Steven Presley and Jazz One. I think I know that. I know who that is. Yeah. Thank you for being here again with us. And we're going to get into the intro, and then we'll get into that show here in a second. I'm going to pull up the intro for you. It's coming up. I promise it's coming up. Just hang tight. It's coming up. Intro.
It's time for fun to pop. Don't make me say it again. Fun to pop, fun to pop, fun to pop. I will not say it again. Fun to pop. Okay, I lied. Fun to pop, fun to pop, fun to pop, oh, fun to pop.
Yeah. Welcome to 156 season 7 here, Jazz One. So I did a really silly thing, but we've been live streaming now and been podcasting for forever. I should know better by now to come in the studio and get started on a show without bringing a beverage to sip on. So I have a cup, but there's nothing in the cup.
Oh no.
But I looked over and said, do I have anything I can sip on during the show? I did find one thing, a container of Taco Deli Doña Salsa. So if I get really desperate, I was eating breakfast tacos in here a couple of days ago in the morning. We're doing some work. And I walked over, I came back from Taco Deli and had this. Have you ever had the Doña Salsa, Jazz One?
Oh yeah. Yeah.
You're very familiar with this?
Absolutely.
Yeah, this is good stuff. Anyway, I got desperate. I could sip on this. They're on standby. So Super Bowl, we got another Super Bowl upon us, and damn it, if it's going to be another team that's going to get to play in their home stadium, this has never happened before, but the second year in a row that's going to happen after never happening.
Oh yeah.
So weird that the last year the Buccaneers got to play a home game, and then unfairly again this year the Rams, and of course that was a meme that was getting passed around, that people were passing around about my Cowboys, saying that the NFL is going to act on this, make sure this never happens again. So the Super Bowl will now happen from now on every year in Dallas at Cowboy Stadium to assure the home team will never play us in their Super Bowl again in their own stadium. Yeah. It hurts. It hurts a lot. But anyway, you've got something to be excited about this year because you have your old quarterback from your college.
Yeah, Joe Burrow, the Heisman winner from 2019 for LSU, led LSU to the national championship. And like that championship season, if it was a video game, they didn't just beat the game, they completed it, won all the awards, took out all the level bosses, set the records and everything.
That's fair.
So Joe Burrow was the first round draft pick and got drafted by the Bengals. Everybody expected him, to flounder there. Like nobody can turn the Bengals around.
Terrible team for years.
Horrible. And then he tears his ACL, MCL, and he's out.
Yeah.
And his first full season back, with the Bengals. Man, they are in the Super Bowl. And
Yeah.
man, I saw the other day, like in the history of football, no quarterback has ever won a college national championship, won a Heisman, and won a Super Bowl in the history of
Like
football.
no one's ever done that trifecta.
Yeah, nobody's ever done that in the history of football.
Yeah.
Joe Burrow may do it in 3 years.
Wow. It's quite possible. That is an upset that some people have put money on, that they see potential possible upset, but we'll see. It is the unfair advantage. The Rams are going to get to play at home. They're going to play in LA. Other people argue, is that really a home field advantage? Because do the Rams actually have fans, real fans? I don't know. That's a good question. Anyway, we'll see. They do have some fans, but it's not a storied history. They moved to St. I mean, they have history, but they're like a traveling team. They've been traveling around to different cities, and it's like the fan base loyalty, I'm not sure, is questionable there, because they went to St. Louis, then they pulled the rug out from under St. Louis, and they went back to LA as soon as they promised them a new stadium. So I don't know. But they're a team that loaded up. They put all the eggs in a basket for this year.
Oh yeah.
The Rams went out and got the Avengers of football, and they loaded up to try to beat Joe Burrow. So we'll see. We'll see if that's enough.
Yeah, I can't wait. Looks like the halftime's going to be good this year.
I'm excited for that halftime show. That's gonna be fun. That's gonna be fun. There's a West Coast old school. Do you know we were joking about Dallas? One more thing on the football end of things, and we're gonna get into this show because we're not typically a football show, but that there was a possibility because of COVID in California and the category that they were at the time, a few weeks ago, that they were, as a backup plan, if it was necessary, Dallas was being proposed as the backup place to play the Super Bowl if they needed to move it.
Oh, wow.
Because of the situation with COVID in California. So yeah, Dallas could have very well ended up hosting the Super Bowl as a backup plan. Jerry Jones wanted it. So 30th Century Fox says, hey guys, I'm excited about those commercials. Yes. Any commercials that you've heard about, Jazz, that you're hoping to see?
I've been kind of like a lot of years, I'm like hip, kind of knowing what's coming with the Super Bowl commercials. This is like the first year pretty much I'm kind of going to the Super Bowl just blind.
You'll be all surprised. Well, I know we're going to talk about, in Agree or Disagree, coming up in a little bit. We're going to talk about two things that are directly related to two big commercials that are happening in the Super Bowl. And one, I'll tell you right now, is the Jurassic World Old Dominion trailer is going to run. They've released a trailer already, but I guess it's going to be a more full trailer. And plus, it's going to be able to see it on TV, but it'll be a full trailer that's going to come out on Sunday during the Super Bowl. There's been people talking about a possibility of Kenobi, maybe a Kenobi teaser.
Yeah. Oh, that'd be awesome.
I wouldn't surprise me one bit if they rolled out because we're May. So Kenobi was announced, confirmed for May 24th, I believe.
Yeah, I was kind of disappointed it wasn't going to be the 4th, man.
Yeah, I am too. I'm very surprised. If they had it ready for late May, why couldn't they have done it a few weeks earlier? I don't know. Maybe they feel like people will watch the app and Star Wars content already enough on the 4th without there being a new release that they could stretch it and spread it out a little bit across the month. I don't know.
I have a feeling they'll do something special on the 4th. Like, I think it's funny how Bad Pun has become almost like a Star Wars holiday now.
Yeah. But yeah, so we're looking right now. It's only a couple months, really 2 full months away. Well, 2.5 full months away, roughly, till Kenobi. So not that far off. It'll be the next big Star Wars release, I believe, for anything Star Wars. So they're having a trailer drop during the Super Bowl. Not a bad way to win the night if you're Star Wars.
Yeah, I've actually even heard rumors that Bad Batch and Kenobi may be overlapping.
I could see that because we would be due for new Bad Batch by late spring, early summer. It would be well overdue. So could definitely see it. I mean, we've had Marvel I think we've had some Marvel. We definitely had Marvel overlaps with TV with a movie out at the same time.
Oh yeah.
So it's not out of the realm of possibility to have an animation and a live action overlapping in their time being on the app. So we'll see. Pretty exciting. Okay, so here's the Thunder Take. I want to ask you about the Super Bowl halftime show pitch for next year. And please, if you're watching, chime in and drop your thoughts on this. So the Janet Jackson wardrobe malfunction, the infamous Janet Jackson wardrobe malfunction from the early 2000s. There's a documentary out now, I believe on Discovery or Lifetime. They did a Janet Jackson documentary, and that's been a big thing lately, is to do documentaries on pop stars and tragic stories like Britney Spears. They did it for the Free Britney documentary. There were a couple of those out. That was a big talk of the internet. So on the back of that, someone's done a Janet Jackson documentary about the wardrobe malfunction and how that all unraveled for her afterwards. And in the documentary, I haven't seen it, but what I've read and what I've heard about the documentary is it goes into some real detailed stuff about what happened after the wardrobe malfunction and how Les Moonves, who was the head of CBS at the time, was livid. And he was so angry, he purposely, and this is according to the documentary, this is all, I don't know. I'll have to watch the documentary to see what they're basing it on. I'm sure they've done some due diligence in their reporting, but they reported that Les Moonves had done everything in his power to have her blacklisted. He was so upset about it that he really went after her. And because CBS controls Viacom, controls MTV, controls VH1, it's a pretty powerful entity, especially back in the early 2000s when MTV and VH1 had even more clout back then than they do now. So he had those media channels to pull her off completely, not run any Janet stuff, no videos, no Janet Jackson promotion. She was completely wiped from Viacom's, taken off of Viacom. He used every string he could pull to get her basically canceled in the early 2000s. And it did seem to hurt her career. Now, meanwhile, Justin Timberlake apparently was so worried about himself. And he went, and this is all according to what I've read about the documentary, what the documentary is saying. He went to Les Moonves himself personally and got on his knees and begged him to let him still perform to appear on the Grammys. Because again, CBS controls also the Grammys.
Yeah.
That's another thing that they control that can really mess up an artist in music if they wanted to blacklist you. If you had control of Viacom, you have a lot of power. You could get an artist really in trouble. Okay.
Oh, yeah.
So Justin begged him to let him do it. And he said he did not know anything about it. He did not know this was going to happen. So Les Moonves apparently let Justin do the Grammys, but he still blacklisted Janet Jackson. So, and as far as I know, Justin Timberlake continued on MTV and VH1 and Grammys for years after that, as far as I could tell from my own eyes. So that's the scandal here. Now, skip ahead years later, Les Moonves gets in trouble for himself. And I don't know I don't remember all the details about what happened with Les Moonves, but I know he had his own scandal and he stepped down from CBS as the head of CBS just a few years ago, actually. So talking about what goes around comes around, which was also a Justin Timberlake in a Justin Timberlake song. What goes around comes around. Anyway, here's my proposal to you, Jazz One. Long-winded setup for that. But my pitch is Janet Jackson and Britney Spears next year's halftime show for the Super Bowl. Make a huge splash. It would be coming full circle with Janet Jackson. Forgiveness. We need to have forgiveness in this world. And what better way to show forgiveness in the world than to bring Janet Jackson back to the Super Bowl? And then Britney Spears, it could be her comeback, the Free Britney comeback, to have her also appear. And it would be empowering for women, I think. I'm not a woman, so I can't speak for the female population, but I think there could be an angle there. And that would get people excited for the Super Bowl. And they've got huge libraries of music. So the two of them together And there's not very many of those, of those artists that are left that haven't done the Super Bowl already. Britney did do the Super Bowl and Janet's done the Super Bowl, but it's a different spin on it. I don't know. So what do you think about my idea? If you want to make a big splash next year?
Yeah, man, that's not a bad idea. But my idea?
Okay, let's hear it. I'll take a sip of Donia and go ahead.
Okay. So so this year I never thought we'd see like a rap halftime, right? And this is like all
it's huge,
West Coast, like all stars, right?
Yeah.
You got Snoop, Dre, all these guys out there.
It's not Vanilla Ice. This is like the real.
I mean, it's a solid lineup.
Yeah.
So I was like, okay. So I think that broke the ground of having a rap halftime, and it, maybe Britney and we call it Janet next year. But if the Super Bowl gets played on the East Coast, how about a Wu-Tang halftime?
Wu-Tang.
Okay, then I had the idea. Okay, if they play it in New Orleans again, it keeps going back to the Superdome.
Right.
So it'll be like a No Limit, Cash Money, Juvenile, Wheezy, Lil Boosie, But it's like, I think that would be a good lineup.
Wu-Tang,
yeah. But yeah, Janet and Britney, that would definitely pull in a lot of viewers.
Make a splash.
Yeah.
If you're looking for what's left out there that would make a splash. Now, if you want to go real contemporary, and you're not going to go hip hop. If you don't go hip hop again next year, and you want to go super contemporary, Doja Cat. I really like the Doja Cat.
Oh, I could see that.
But I don't know if she's been around long enough. They usually like people to build up their library a little bit.
Oh yeah.
To have a lot of songs.
Have all the TikTok songs. The artists with the TikTok songs.
I'm liking that Doja Cat though. That's my favorite new artist right now. Did you all ever do a Nardwuar was she around yet?
I want to say Nardwuar did one, maybe out in Vancouver or somewhere else, but I think there's a Doja Cat, but I didn't shoot it.
Yeah. Yeah, it's good. That's a good one. Do you like the Doja Cat, Jazz?
Man, I go back and forth. I'm either like, okay, this is awesome, or what the hell is happening here? But then I'm like, oh no, this is awesome. I gotta go back and forth.
Yeah, you kind of one of those you go back and forth on. Yeah. I knew you had Billie Eilish. You were there you did a Billie Eilish with him, didn't you?
Yeah, I shot the first Billie Eilish Nardwuar interview. Yeah, this was like, I will say she was like 16 at the time.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like most of the time shooting kids like that, just kids are annoying at times.
Yeah, yeah.
But Billie was like legit cool,
Yeah.
She laughed a lot after the interview.
Yeah.
And cool. Remember after the interview, there's something that she did that I've stole from her when I'm shooting photos.
Oh.
So it's like, after the interviews, we'll shoot some photos together, Nardwuar and the artist, and we'll take photos together. And so it's like everybody kind of knows their angles. A lot of times when you're in photos, this is your good
right.
side.
Yeah.
So like every time we'd shoot a photo, Billie would be like, switch, like change pose. I'm like, so all of a sudden, like you get out of your comfort zone in this, very posed, knowing your angles or whatever,
right,
to something that's not completely candid. But yeah, it's like, it was also the last interview we shot that week. So,
that's cool.
So I handed my camera to Billie and had Billie shoot me and Nardwuar in our
nice
person. And so, yeah, every time she would like take a picture of us, she'd like switch, change. And you could definitely start getting like a little bit more, not fully candid, but just not as frozen. Like everybody knows, like they're like, you ever see some people always have the same photo?
Oh yeah. Yeah. We all know our angle. Like you said, we know our angle. We know a certain facial expression that maybe that we think favors us. And everyone told, like my wife said, you have a certain way you do your mouth when you take photos. You do it every single time. I was like, yeah, That's how I know how to pose my face. Like you pose with your body.
Oh yeah.
You pose with your face too, like you're saying.
But yeah, Billy was just like, switch, change, change pose, and it just from then on, I'm like, okay, I'm stealing this. Whenever I think people are too stiff in the photo,
yeah, that's funny. That's cool. And also bad news today for entertainment and photos. Speaking of photos and entertainment, was the announcement that Entertainment Weekly is going to be shutting its doors and lay off of 400 employees. But yeah, they're going bye-bye. Entertainment Weekly, which was my go-to back in the day. I would grab a movie magazine, entertainment magazine. I would get the Entertainment Weekly at the bookstore.
Not giving away age, but like pre-internet, that was kind of like the internet.
Yeah. And then it's pretty much the reason why the internet, the expansion of the internet over the years, and more content on the internet is why Entertainment Weekly would be going out of business. And probably the pandemic too did not help sales and the time, with everything with the pandemic. Okay, let's get into something though that has business is very good for streaming, for Disney Plus and for Star Wars. Business seems to be doing really well, and they're not closing their doors anytime soon. In fact, they're expanding the universe as we speak with more Star Wars. Because we were just talking about how we may get a crossover of 2 shows at the same time for the first time since the app launched, with Bad Batch and Kenobi. And of course, that's all speculative right now, but that would be awesome. In May, those both came out the same month. So the Book of Boba Fett, the reaction to Book of Boba Fett, Chapter 7 just aired, and what an explosive outcome into the show, and what a season. The show is just so many things to talk about with this show. Here's a couple of little memes. Those are the 2 dad bods, one from Marvel and one from Star Wars. We have there, and then the guy that was on the Nirvana, the baby that was on the Nirvana cover, he sued them because of some stuff with his being nude as a baby. He said was exploiting him. Well, they finally settled the lawsuit, and now they're going to replace every album cover with Grogu.
Oh, totally. Best idea ever. I'll rebuy the album.
That would be a good way to sell more albums, is to do a Grogu version of that album. So. Anyway, so many things to talk about with this show. It had so many twists and turns. Overall, I was very satisfied with the show. Thought it was a lot of fun. Definitely had some surprises. We talked at the beginning of the show when it started, and you said, who's going to show up? Who might show up? Who are we going to see? And we were like, oh, who could we see? Who might show up? Mando? Would Mando show up? Did you think in your wildest dreams that we would get the cast list that we got?
Man, I tell you, if one of the people that we were expecting or just showed up in this season, I would have been happy. Like Cad Bane, like one of my favorite characters from like the animated shows.
Yeah.
It was just like, I was kind of surprised when we saw Cad Bane on Bad Batch. I wasn't expecting that. And to see a live action Cad Bane.
Yeah.
And it definitely falling into the whole Western trope of it.
I think you mentioned Cad Bane too at the beginning of the season. You say, "Oh, where will if I see Cad Bane show up in live action?" I mean, I'm gonna blow my. It's gonna blow my. You were like, "It's gonna blow my mind."
Oh yeah, it was just it was a really amazing. Black Chrysanthemum, like read some of the comic books and stuff, and just to see that, Black Chrysanthemum in live action, and it was just like. And I've been legit worried about Grogu, like just been hoping he's doing okay in Jedi school, and to, not just get like a quick drop in, like, we got basically 2 episodes of, Mando 2.5.
Yeah. Yeah, there is when he first leaves. And anything new? What is one thing that jumps out at you if I ask you, what is something new you learned about Star Wars that you as a fan did not know that you learned from this season of Book of Boba Fett?
I really like the backstory of the Tuscans. it does feel like calling them sand people is kind of racist now in 2022.
Yeah.
But
Not
just kind
appropriate.
of,
Don't do it.
yeah, just kind of showing like, there's a culture, to these people,
Yeah.
and these Tuscans are people, like I definitely appreciate that. But I'll tell you one thing that really kind of struck me was, okay, so we were all just blown away to see Luke Skywalker at the end of the Mandalorian second season.
Yeah.
And I apologize for tweeting that photo and knowing what I was saying.
Oh yeah.
But okay, so when we saw Luke freaking Skywalker in the Mandalorian,
Yeah.
we're like, holy shit, there's Luke Skywalker. It didn't look real, but it serviced the story, right?
Yeah.
Okay, Luke Skywalker was in the last episode of The Mandalorian. Luke Skywalker in that
Yes.
was it fifth or sixth? No, sixth episode. Luke Skywalker was, I know it's not him, but he was acting like there was literal, like that was a performance rather than just showing up.
It wasn't just a cameo. Let's shoot some of it from the back for a little bit. Then we'll shoot that one shot where we see him from the knees down. Then we'll have one where we shoot through the monitor, like through this TV screen. You see it in a fuzzy. Grogu's looking at the little TV.
Oh yeah.
We get some shots there. Then he finally shows up. It's a few seconds. We do some wide shots. Maybe don't go in too close.
He was in there. What, that episode? A good 2 minutes.
I thought he was.
Yeah.
Yeah, I thought he was about to make out with Ahsoka Tano. There was so much mood and there was so much feel with that role, like he was there.
Man,
he was really there.
Just knowing that Luke and Ahsoka has had conversations, even if it's more than what we just saw on screen, like, hey, reminds me of your father.
Yeah.
I am like, just to know that these two have interacted. It's like Ahsoka probably knew Anakin better than anybody but Padme, right?
Yeah. Yeah. The Watcher on the Marvel series?
Yeah.
On the What If? The Watcher sees everything. Watcher's
Yeah.
like one of my coolest characters now for Marvel. It's kind of a cool character. I like the voice and the whole like role that he plays. Even though sometimes he got kind of frustrating because you were like, just interfere already. But anyway, the Watcher, if I was the Watcher of Star Wars and was given access to interfere from time to time, when they're building that new Jedi Academy and they got the little robots that are going around, they're putting the little pieces together, which is fun to watch. That was cool. That was fun to watch. So they're building the new academy. I would have been like whispering in Luke's ear, like the Watcher, put fire alarm system, fire sprinklers, ASAP. Don't forget the fire sprinklers. It looks pretty, but put some fire. You have fire sprinklers in Star Wars, don't you?
They don't have handrails.
Yes. Oh man. So 30th Century Fox says, I love how Luke just sent Grogu back to Tatooine with no supervision. Like, oh, you don't want to hang, then get gone. I read something on that today. Also, it's a true way to pay off everything Filoni's vision. Yeah. For Filoni.
Oh yeah.
Well, yeah, I read today about that. And how Luke told Grogu that he has to release his attachments in the episode, in the chapter 6. He says you have to release your attachments. And I said something like, moving forward, if you really commit to being a Jedi, you've got to release those attachments and whatnot. And then same thing, I think he told him that if you choose Mandalore, you have to release attachments to me and everything else that was a part of what is going on here. We didn't see that, but that was a speculation of what I read today on this one article. And that makes some sense to me, and why he would not even have wanted to be involved and fly, physically himself in being the one to fly him to Tatooine. But he did feel it was his duty as a part of his promise to to Din to keep him safe, was to make sure that he would be safely seen back to him as well. So it was kind of like, I'm not going to physically be involved in taking you back myself and flying the X-Wing back, but I'm going to see that you do get back. And that was something cool for me, was seeing R2 basically Tesla that X-Wing back to Tatooine.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
And when you saw the X-Wing show up at the junkyard, did you say, "Oh, Luke's flying," or did you pretty early quickly say, "I think it was droned in"?
Man, I wasn't sure. Like, man, you know how many times Star Wars will give you like red herrings,
Yeah,
you
I mean,
know,
it could have been our friend.
misdirections and stuff. Like, I just like I didn't know if Luke was showing up, and man, him and Grogu were going both have lightsabers or something. But yeah, when I couldn't see the pilot, I was like, oh hell, little Grogu's in there, and
Grogu's in that ship. Well, now whenever I see an X-wing, I was like, is it Luke or is it Captain Teva?
oh yeah, Captain Carson Teva.
Yeah.
Man, I was happy
Even
to see Paul in
oh,
another episode this season.
another
I mean,
surprise. We would have not. I mean, I would have hoped to have seen him back, but had no idea we were going to see him in Book of Boba Fett
oh yeah,
show up.
man. I tell you, if anybody, like I know a lot of people in the movie and the shows are fans of Star Wars, but man, just I don't know, I just relate to Paul. You know, seeing Paul,
Yeah,
Sun Young Lee, in the in Star Wars TV shows, I'm like, man, he is all of us.
yeah, yeah. He's a cool guy, and it's cool to see him pop up. Now I'm convinced. Not so. I wasn't totally convinced in that last season of Mandalorian when we saw him. He was kind of sprinkled in there throughout the season. I know he appeared on at least a couple of episodes.
Yeah.
And in one episode where he had a pretty significant pivotal role, he shows up again, this time again interacting with Mandalorian and when they're flying in space, and a pretty good scene they gave him there. But now I'm convinced that we will see some more of him in the future in the Mandalorian part of the universe. I think we'll see.
Oh, I would not be surprised
We
at
have not
all.
seen the last of Captain Carson Teva. I'd be very surprised if we do. If we don't see more.
And I'll tell you what, one thing that surprised me. Well, one, was it Bryce Dallas Howard?
Yeah.
I did not know that was Ron Howard's daughter.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, it never occurred to me. Then I saw something online. I'm like, oh, wow.
And she's put together a pretty interesting resume as an actress and now directing. And people are calling. There has been an internet outcry for her to direct a Star Wars movie based off what she did this year on Book of Boba Fett and her directorial work this season on the Book of Boba Fett. So I could see that happening in the future. Ron Howard, there's always been kind of a thread there, a connection between Howard and Lucas, because Ron Howard at a very younger years starred in a George Lucas movie. He's in American Graffiti
Oh, shit.
pre-Star Wars, which
Yeah.
was George Lucas's work before Star Wars. Also, Harrison Ford in American Graffiti. So that was Harrison Ford's first time working with George Lucas was in American Graffiti, not Star Wars. So Ron Howard also in that movie, American Graffiti. And I know he was really inspired by George Lucas as his goal of wanting to be a director and watching him on the set and wanting to be able to follow in his footsteps and be a director himself. What I've always been curious about is if Harrison Ford was picked to be Han Solo. They did audition a lot of people. A lot of people were being considered, but he finally went with somebody that directors like to work with people. They have
Oh,
people
yeah.
that are their guys. We just watched Robert Rodriguez, the executive producer of the Book of Boba Fett, and he brought back the machete for one
Oh,
episode.
yeah.
And that's a guy he works with a lot. That actor, I wish you could think of. I'm so sorry that I can't remember his
Oh,
name.
Danny Trejo.
Danny Trejo has been in all kinds of Robert Rodriguez movies.
Oh, yeah.
He likes to work with Danny Trejo. So, and directors have that, like Richard Linklater with Ethan Hawke. So Harrison Ford kind of seems to be that for George Lucas because he was in Star Wars, American Graffiti, and then later in Indiana Jones.
Oh, yeah.
So he worked with him a lot. What was Ron Howard ever considered for Luke Skywalker? That's my question. Did he get a read? Did he at least get a read for it?
Oh man, it can't be any better than what I'm just imagining right now.
Can you try to picture that? What that would have looked like?
Yeah.
I mean, admittedly, he probably this doesn't quite. I mean, I like Richie. I like Richie Cunningham, but not going to work as in the lightsaber, and this is not working. Something's off. Put him back in a '57 Chevy and have him singing, "Oh, I found my thrills" on Blueberry Hill, and we're back in business. But sometimes it just doesn't. I'm sure he wanted to make it work because I think he really liked Ron Howard.
Oh
But
yeah.
they couldn't figure a way to make it work anyway. One of my favorite memes, I don't have it, has been the talking about Luke and how the CGI has seemingly gotten so much better in just a year between that Mandalorian episode and what they were able to accomplish in this episode. Can you imagine what they're going to be able to do in a year later after that? I think we're getting close to where you could have a whole series with a character like that, de-aged.
Man, how would you feel if we had the reunion that we always wanted to see?
I wouldn't be a bit
But
surprised.
but computer generated, man. It's like if we saw Han, Luke, and Leia like in one scene, like that
Well,
would break my brain.
Well, I mean, I think you could do it easily as an animated series. Why not have an animated series that's about the three of them right
Yeah.
after Return of the Jedi and do an animated series with that? That would get a ton of watches. I mean, that would be a huge hit. It would be much easier for them to do that than right now doing it all computer generated, which I think still a big process. And that's why we didn't see Luke in chapter 7
Oh yeah,
because it's like
man.
you get one episode of that.
I like how Boba Fett had a cameo in Boba Fett episode 6.
Mhm.
I heard some people complaining about that. I'm like, man, first of all, that's when Boba Fett was learning how to ride a Rancor.
Mhm. Oh yeah.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah, I cannot wait for that. Yeah, like I got up on Avatar
Yeah.
about a year and a half ago. Yeah, I
Yeah.
don't think anybody could be cast better than Paul for Uncle Ira.
Yeah, that's a good casting. I'm glad he got that. So he'll be doing that. He's got his new show he's coming out with. That's him diving into nerd culture, collect people that are
Yeah,
passionate
like
about things they collect.
Fandalorium or
Yeah,
something.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
like I wonder what network that's going to be on.
I know. I hopefully it goes back to Netflix where Kim's Convenience was and ends up there in the U.S. And then also 30th Century Fox is better than Clint Howard as Han.
100 Fox.
Yeah, good point. Good point. Yeah, but Bryce Dallas Howard has pulled together quite an interesting, resume with her in the Jurassic Park movies. She's been in the Netflix series. What's the show with all the twisted Black Mirror? She did an episode
Oh
of Black
yeah.
Mirror. She was in a M Night Shyamalan. First thing I ever saw her in was an M Night Shyamalan movie. That I can't remember the name of the movie, but she's in
Oh
that.
yeah.
You know what I'm talking about. The first thing I ever saw her in was that. So yeah, she put in there's some other stuff. Those are some of the things I remember seeing her in that I really enjoyed. And now director of Star Wars. And will direct again, I'm sure. And I have a feeling this has really put the director bug in her. I think she's going to be doing a lot more directing in the future, like following her dad's footsteps.
Oh yeah.
So
Man, I tell you one thing that's kind of annoyed me is like all the armchair directors on Twitter.
oh well, yeah.
It's like, man, I thought these episodes were really good. I think so many people, I guess having episodes roll out one per week gives you like too much time with it or something.
Mhm.
I'm like, no, trust the ride. People like saying that Robert Rodriguez shouldn't be directing Star Wars. I'm
I've
like,
heard that. Yeah.
you know, here's the thing, man. Like you've done some video work. Like it's it's a skill to be able to tell stories in video
Yeah.
and the whole thing.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just like the people who are like the armchair quarterbacks.
Yeah.
If they would have just done this or that, but you put them on the field and they would be pancakes pretty quick.
Yeah. I mean, how many times have you sat there and you wanted to coach, you were coaching the game, say they should have done this, they should have ran it. Why did they not run it? People
Oh
do that.
yeah.
People do that with movies and television. They should have ran
Uh,
the ball.
that reminds me of one of my LSU friends. He does a YouTube channel, and he was like talking about some field goal that anybody could have made that. So CBS invites him out to like the national championship game, and they have him show up at this practice facility, and they're like, okay, if anybody can do it, do it. They had like field goal posts set up. Like you have like
Wow.
however many fractions of a second to kick it, and yeah, it was funny. I was happy for him though.
Well, we would have had better clock management had I coached the Cowboys this year. But anyway, I regress. I'm still not happy.
So what'd you think of that post-credit scene?
Yeah, I want to ask you about the post-credit scene. And I, at first, was like, what's going on there? And then I started looking online. I went back and watched it today. And I'm like, oh, okay. Yeah. Cobb's alive. Cobb Van.
Yeah.
And that's him in the Bacta tank. And so great news for fans of Cobb Van. What do you think about that?
Man, I tell you, I was stoked to see Thundercat in Star Wars.
Yeah.
Like the mod, like I like how the mod studio kind of felt like a tattoo studio, a tattoo shop, and to see him at the very end, just about to go to work on Cobb Vanth, like I guess Cobb's gonna be a little bit of a mod. Like Fennec is a mod. Darth Vader is a mod.
Yeah.
So yeah, I can't wait to see how that turns out. Like, hopefully Cobb Vanth is part of this universe for a while.
He's a great character. I know it seemed like that maybe he was gone.
Oh yeah.
We got to chapter 7. It's like maybe he did get killed. And by the way, that deputy is now the Star-Lord of Star Wars. Should have just stayed out of it. Didn't know when to stay down. It made things much worse than they needed to be. I want to, a lot of the criticism earlier in the season, a lot of memes. I mean, some of the memes were funny. There were some of the Power Ranger memes about the moped gang. And at first I was like, well, the moped gang is interesting. That is a little different. Very colorful for Tatooine and Mos Eisley section of that planet. But then I started thinking about it and I remembered back to the animated series from the 1980s.
Oh yeah, the droids one, right?
Saturday morning cartoon droids, where a lot of people, I'm aging myself a little bit that I am even aware that existed, but a lot of people don't know about droids, especially people that grew up with the prequels.
Oh yeah.
Post, original Star Wars that found their Star Wars later. They didn't know about droids, and I don't know if you can get droids on Disney Plus. I know it's available on there's some of it's on YouTube, little bits and pieces of it are on YouTube. You might even be able to watch a whole episode. But droids had a cyberpunk aesthetic. The characters, very colorful, even in the music. Have you watched any of it?
Yeah, I watched like several episodes. Some of them a little bit more intensely than others, but yeah, I thought it was an interesting show, especially to know like the time it was in.
Yeah,
like, not expecting to be canon or anything, but
sure. Yeah, it had a lot of synth pop.
Yeah, well, I mean, the one thing that kind of drives me a little crazy is like when people say, "Oh, this is Star Wars and this isn't."
Yeah,
I'm like, if you are a consumer, if you are viewing this, you can have things you like or don't like, but you really don't get a say in what is Star Wars or not Star Wars. I think I mentioned it before, like as an artist myself, I always say if what I do doesn't do it for you, it's simply not for you. I kind of hold all movies, music, and everything to that same thing. If I don't like it, it's not for me.
right.
It's like if you don't like this sequel series, trilogy, it's not for you. It's for me. If you don't like some decisions, in this Boba Fett series,
Right.
Like I heard someone complaining that the one mod guy spun around before he shot, and you can look at odd spins and, Obi-Wan and Darth Vader and Fennec Shan has some flips, that's not really needed. But like I said, enjoy it or don't. But the consumer doesn't get to decide what is or isn't the thing.
Yeah, and so I wondered, Robert Rodriguez maybe had borrowed from that show from Droids, and I was like, that's cool though. I like that. A lot of people won't catch that, but I thought that was interesting if that's where it came from, was kind of the cyberpunk aesthetic being brought in from droids. And like you said, that musically it was very different. It had the synthesizers, the very 80s music in that series. Well, you know, I remember going back to Force Awakens, the complaint against Star Wars was that it was too they went back to the usual tropes too much, and there wasn't anything new being brought in. And that was the whole beef that people had with Star Wars for a long time was, oh, we're going back to Tatooine, or we're going back to Hoth. There's nothing new with the characters. There's nothing unique. And then they bring in the Last Jedi, this casino, Canto Bight, and something very different. And then again, here in the Book of Boba Fett with the Moped Gang, we see a different kind of part of the Star Wars galaxy, something bringing again an attempt to bring in something different. And people are going to complain about that now, instead of like, oh, now we're trying something different. We're all giving you a different view of the Star Wars universe. It's not all dirty land speeders and farm kids on Tatooine.
You know, I can see some teenagers, you know, especially a group like that, you know, like you, I mean, you look at, you know, like Mexican street gangs, you know, like you see the very colorful card, you know, it's just like, even when people are struggling, you kind of taking pride in what you have, you know, if you got some red paint or yellow paint or blue paint, you know, paint your, you know, space moped, you know, I'm not mad at that at all. Hell yeah, I agree. What was El Mariachi? You know, as someone who's done some film work before, like I always admired what he did for so little, you know. With El Mariachi, I won't say it's like incredibly little money was spent and launched an entire career off of it.
Yeah, and I read that book that he put out after that, and he basically raised money by doing PPD pharmaco studies in Austin.
Oh wow, yeah.
For his first movie, El Mariachi, he raised a lot of money from that. Yeah, other ways of fundraising as well, but that was before GoFundMe. So back in 1990, whatever that year was, GoFundMe was a PPD pharmaco study.
Like when I first moved to Austin, I knew some people that were doing those.
The PPDs, yeah.
Yeah.
I had some friends that would do them too. I know some people that got in there and like were lab rats, human lab rats for the experiments. But yeah, PPD Pharmaco, that was the GoFundMe of 1995. I want to ask you, we had that in credits, we see Cobb Vanth. He's obviously in the pod
back
there.
To tank. Yeah,
the back to. We never see more Bacta Tank than we saw this season in the Book of Boba Fett. The Bacta Tank got a lot of action. And by the way, he offered his Bacta Tank to the Wookiee.
Yeah.
Was it crustacean?
Yeah, Black Crustacean.
Black Crustacean. I said crustacean.
It's a big shrimp.
That's a shrimp, but you know, from being from Louisiana, it's actually a shrimp. It would be a very different bounty hunter from the sea side of Star Wars, the sea part of Star Wars. Probably knows Jar Jar Binks, this bounty hunter. But crustacean is my new character I've invented for Star Wars. I want to see crustacean in the next season of Book of Boba Fett. Bring me shrimp boy. Bring me shrimp man. Robert Rodriguez, Dave Filoni, Jon Favreau. Bring me crustacean. I want to see it. Okay, so we get to see this. He's in the Bacta Tank, but the Bacta Tank was offered to the Wookiee because he had basically, you know, he took quite a beating there in that last episode.
Oh yeah,
and really showed up for the team. Really showed up for the team when they needed him most. He offered him his Bacta Tank, but I'm thinking, I hope they have a good drain in that Bacta Tank. And all that,
or at least filters.
I mean, at least some filters, because that Wookiee's gonna shed in that tank. And then when you're Boba Fett, you get back in that tank and you got all this hair floating in your water. It's not going to be as appealing.
Oh yeah. And see, man, I don't know. I think Wookiees just in general are probably very fragrant because like you don't see like Chewie, Black Chrysanthemum, you don't see them like panting like dogs, right?
Oh,
so that means they got to be sweating under that fur.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, I was at a store one day. I saw it was a Chewbacca like Wookiee air freshener. And I'm like, I don't want my car to smell like a Wookiee.
That may not be the right angle to go, right? The Chewbacca cologne.
Oh, you see, you know, and like Man, I'm thinking like the Millennium Falcon probably smells a little bit like Wookiee, but like a little bit like burning electronics.
Somewhere kind of a good blend of that. If we were in the room trying to design that perfume, that cologne, that might be some of the ideas we might bring in and say, what are some scents that need to be combined to make this Wookiee cologne?
It would be like the first cologne that needs a warning label.
It will make your lover go rawr when they smell your Wookiee cologne. Wookiee cologne by Chewbacca. Well, and then also, I hope that he's probably gonna have to sweep up his own hair there at the palace.
Oh yeah.
He sheds a lot. They're gonna have him do his sweeping for him. So anyway, yeah, maybe get a second Bacta tank for in case that one gets and was that Bacta tank there when Jabba was there? Was that part of Jabba's furniture that was left behind? Or did he bring that in? Did he call 1-800 Bacta tank?
Oh no, he got on Amazon.
Called Star Wars Amazon?
Yeah, Space Amazon.
It's definitely delivered by droids.
Oh yeah. No, I'm like wondering, I wonder where they got it, because I don't think Jabba would have felt no fit in it.
Because droids never need to go to the bathroom, so they would be Amazon perfect delivery people. Oh boy. You can tell I don't work for Amazon. I would be making that joke on the show. And probably now we'll never work for Amazon because of that joke. Oh man. So Cobb Vanth probably back for Mandalorian season 3. We'll see him.
Yeah, man, I can't wait to see I heard some people complaining, okay, it's called the Book of Boba Fett, and there was, Mandalorian episodes. I'm like, I heard some people describe it before the season came out that it was like the Mandalorian 2.5.
Yeah.
Like I do like the back history. I like the flashbacks. I guess the flashback to
it really had a lot in there.
Yeah.
A lot of that in there that made it feel like a kind of a two, like you said, the 2.5 season of Mandalorian. And were you surprised when we got that much Mandalorian in chapter 5?
Yeah, I was watching chapter 5. Yeah, that was basically like a Mandalorian 2.5 episode, and I was like just trying to look at my watch every now and then and think, okay, they're doing a lot of Mando. Are they going to get back to Boba at all? And to do like a whole episode, man, think about like how much history we got. We got the Night of the Thousand Tears.
Yeah.
We got like Mandalorian history. Like there was so much, background and history and just like world building we got, in that hour.
It seems to be a trend now in series where there's these like episodes that kind of jump off to a side character, but it does all kind of piece together later. Kind of like what was done in cinema years ago with Pulp Fiction, where Pulp Fiction would have a whole section of the movie for a while that would go off and would follow Bruce Willis's character around. And he was a totally different character from the Sam Jackson and the John Travolta characters, but they would have a whole section of the movie that would follow his character around for a good chunk of movie before you'd get back to the main characters. And I feel like some of that was what was being used in this, where you had the whole Mando and it all kind of pieced together for the finale.
Oh yeah.
What happens in getting Grogu reunited with Mandalorian, we had to go through all of those steps for the audience, for it to calculate for us how they're able to bring them all back together. But I'm watching a show. I told you we were talking at the beginning of the show. There's things we watch that we would not maybe normally watch, but maybe we have a friend that's into it. We watch it with them, or a spouse or mate. My wife, I've been watching with her the Tommy Lee and Pam Anderson the new series they have with Seth Rogen. And they did a very similar thing in the first 2 episodes. The first episode follows, spoilers for Pam and Tommy Lee on Hulu. If you're don't want anything spoiled for that show, just a heads up. First episode follows mostly not Pam and Tommy Lee, but it follows the Seth Rogen character around, who is the guy that is working as a contractor on their mansion.
Oh
Okay?
shit.
He plays this kind of down on his luck contractor that's doing work on Tommy Lee's mansion. Okay.
Oh shit.
So the first episode, you're kind of like, whoa, he's the main character. It's basically not even there's nothing with Pam and Tommy Lee, except for just a little bit here at the beginning to establish that they're there in their relationship. The second episode shifts completely. It goes backwards and it gives you a flashback episode where it goes completely back to the Tommy Lee and how he meets Pamela Anderson Lee.
Oh
and
shit.
how their whole relationship starts and evolves into them getting married after only knowing each other for only a few days. So
Oh,
that
shit.
becomes that's the second episode, which kind of works as a prequel to the first episode, but it all worked. And you could all kind of seeing it start to piece together and how it's going to evolve into the story of what happens with the videotape that gets out the porn.
My younger sister used to be married to the son of Mick Mars.
Oh yeah.
Like, yeah. Yeah. So, man, some people get really caught up in just how they think the storytelling should be, their own headcanon, their expectations get in the way of letting them enjoy, a good ride. The Clone Wars, the animated show, which I had the biggest late pass on. I'm so glad I watched it. It's made me enjoy everything else with Star Wars so much more. But man, they would do story arcs. They would do 2 to 3 or 4 episodes, in an arc, and then it would kind of jump around. So like this season of Boba Fett, you had basically like 4 episodes of him, the Tuskens. We got to find out so many things that we've had burning questions for. Like how did he survive this and that, and then we go off, off world, go to have that Mando episode, and then have Luke Skywalker and Ahsoka and Cad Bane like all in one episode.
Yeah.
And then we tied it back, together with that final episode.
Yeah.
I'm still processing, man. There was just so much happening, I still think the 6th episode is probably my favorite episode. There was, even though it was a little slower pace,
it was
there was
it's
so
close,
much in it, so much
close
happening
for me between 5 and 6, between those two. But yeah, 6 damn good. I mean, that's literal Star Wars porn.
Oh yeah.
Did we know we were going to get Luke? Did we know we were going to get, all of those, just so many presents under the tree in this season for Star Wars fans. We got to see Boba Fett literally get out of the Sarlacc pit and how he does it.
Oh
in the first minutes, we see it. We get to watch it live action.
Oh, did you see the Patton Oswalt video where he basically calls that?
I do remember watching that. Yes.
Yeah, it's from Parks and Rec, like 8 years ago. And like he basically describes that scene to a T.
I'm hoping they gave him a writing credit for that.
Oh, me too.
Because the whole internet knows he came up with that. Well, even while I was watching it, I was like, this is like my dreams come true, but isn't it? It's like, didn't I see someone describe this one time? And I'm like, yes, Parks and Rec episode.
This seems oddly familiar.
Yeah. Well, he also called for a Marvel Star Wars crossover in that pitch, didn't he?
Maybe. I know he was, doing a filibuster.
Yeah, he was doing a filibuster. So it kept getting more and more, building on it. And then he started getting started off everything about it was very believable and seemed like it could happen in Star Wars. But then it started to escalate into I think he started talking about Thanos somehow getting involved and being in Star Wars.
Well, the crazy thing is I heard he improv that whole scene.
It's pretty good. It's pretty good. That's impressive. Oh my goodness. Well, this was a little clip here I wanted to show you. If you remember this.
Wow, what an ending! Who'd have thought Darth Vader was Luke Skywalker's father?
Ah, thank you, Mr. Blow the Picture for me.
Classic there, Homer Simpson blowing the that actually happened to the late great Johnny Lightfoot, because his friend came on the show when we did his tribute episode and talked about how they accidentally did that for, I think it was Infinity War or Endgame. No, Endgame, but it was on accident. They thought they were the last movie of the night, and they stayed around the parking lot talking about the movie because it was so late. They said they didn't realize there was another movie after that. So there were people going into the movie when they were talking about it. They didn't realize there were still people going to see the movie.
Bro, I still feel guilty for spoiling the Mandalorian
Oh
finale.
man. Well, I mean, I opened up social media. I've learned my lesson. Yeah, we're talking about Jazz in the finale of Mandalorian season 2 and the big Luke Skywalker thing
I
showing up.
literally didn't say anything but post a pic of me and Mark Hamill.
But I knew.
but
Well,
you know,
and I kind of
jazzyisms.
set that up for myself too, though, because I had predicted, and I got so much blowback on TikTok for saying it's going to be Luke Skywalker, and I'll tell you why. And I presented the reasons why I thought it made the most sense for it to be Luke, and everyone, all the big ones, Campia, everyone on YouTube was saying someone else. It was going to be Ahsoka. It was going to be this other Jedi from the Clone Wars because Filoni is. And it was very good information that to back up that argument of why it was going to be these other Jedis. But I'm like, no, it makes total sense that that species that was the same species as Yoda, it would come full circle for Yoda that trained Luke, for Luke to train Baby Yoda.
Oh yeah.
That it had that connection there. And so I was like, I didn't know how they would bring in Luke. That was the part I wasn't sure about. Were they going to get a different actor? Were they going to do CGI? I knew they could do it. We knew they had been doing the CGI for almost 5 years with Rogue One, and then what they had did with The Rise of Skywalker and Carrie Fisher. So we knew it was possible. I just didn't know whether they would do it on a show. Would they have that budget for a TV show like they have for a movie? Anyway, yeah. So anyway, but yeah, I knew I did it for myself too. I spoiled it for myself.
Yeah, I'm kind of wondering if we're gonna get like a Star Wars gallery episode. You know, like the behind the scenes making of.
Probably,
Like,
yeah.
I wonder if it's gonna be next week or if we're gonna have to wait for a while. Like, I can't wait to see like how they pulled a lot of that stuff off.
Well, you know, the what I've read, and I can't wait to see that. I'm sure they're going to do one. I can't wait. That should be coming up soon. You know, so we saw the behind the scenes of how they brought Luke in for the Mandalorian and all the, Mark Hamill and how they used him and how he was involved in it. So what I understand is Mark didn't even have to come in this time. Now they used the actor and they were able to do it all. And they were able to do voice by computer generated using his old voice, from other stuff that he had been in, and piecing it all together. But they had hired, there was a guy after that Mandalorian episode that did a deep fake online that people were doing a side by side of. They were like, oh, this deep fake on the internet, though, is still better than what they did in the Mandalorian. And people were comparing it side by side. Well, Disney ended up hiring that guy.
Yeah, was that guy like Shamook or something?
I think so. It sounds familiar.
Yeah.
So I'm wondering if he was involved in this one, because this one,
I want to say I heard that.
Yeah. Because this time it was even like an upgraded upgrade. And how cool is that when the advancements in technology and what's accessible for us at our fingertips as creators in our own home studios has now gotten to a point where it's almost caught up on some things to what studios have access to where a person that has the talent can and have the ability to show their work and get jobs like that by doing, I don't think that guy had any intention to like be malicious or try to show up the technology people. I think he wanted to show his talents and hopefully get a job himself in the future. And it worked. He did get a job.
Oh yeah.
Now the fans are going to say ugly things and say, oh, this is better. This is such a sucky one. But he was not saying, he was just showing, hey, this is what I did. Look at what I can do. Maybe give me a job sometime too. And you can learn. So the studios, when they're open-minded enough and egos aren't like hurt, and they're saying, hey, sometimes we can learn from the fans and bring in and use their ideas and hire them. And that's what the internet can be, is sometimes it can be a way to connect people.
Oh yeah.
And not just divide people and have people hating and mad at each other. But it can also sometimes that person, the studio reached out to that person. And I thought that was pretty big of them to do that.
Oh, absolutely.
So anyway, I love the show. Can't wait for Kenobi in May. that's going to be unbelievable. And we get Anakin Skywalker, Darth Vader coming back. Maybe Darth Maul shows up.
Yeah.
In that whole timeline during that time. Maybe Jimmy Smits comes back to reprise his role from the these are all predictions, things I could see happening. I think it's kind of going to be for the prequels what I believe Mandalorian is for the original trilogy. What happens right, like maybe a little bit after, like 5 or 10 years later, or a few years later, and then this is where we're at. And of course, Ewan McGregor is going to be there, which is huge. Getting him to come back to do Obi-Wan Kenobi. He said he came back for the fans of the prequels. So that was going to be. I'm just so excited. That was so cool. Such a great time for fandom.
Oh yeah, absolutely, bro.
I'm not mad. Take my bag of money. Disney, Star Wars. It's so good. Okay, thoughts and advice. But before thoughts and advice, agree or disagree for you, Jazz 1.
Oh, let's do it.
On this 156th episode. Number 1, Dr. Phil has now been accused for his show has been accused of having a toxic work environment. Now, this has been a trend in especially in talk shows, because this is the same accusations that were made against the Ellen and her show, and the work environment on her show, is that there was a toxic work environment. There's also the Wendy Williams show. She's leaving her show. She's being replaced. There were some controversies with her show. Steve Harvey, who seems like the most lovable guy ever, had accusations a few years ago on his show, on one of his shows, of also having a toxic work environment.
Oh, goodness.
So my agree or disagree for you is, I think the industry itself, there's just a lot of toxic personalities in entertainment. And sometimes, the type of person that sometimes is successful, for better or worse, in the industry, because the industry, I met the guy, you ever watch MASH?
Yeah.
The guy that played the junkyard guy on MASH. That guy, he was on several episodes. He was the one that ran the junkyard, and he was a recurring character on the show. Well, he lives in our area of Austin, San Marcos, and he has been teaching theater. I'm sorry, I can't remember his name. I feel terrible, but he's a very recognizable guy. He was a professor, theater department at Texas State for a number of years. I don't know if he's still out there. And I used to see him downtown in Austin. And one time I walked up, ran to him, and it was when I was doing I was pounding the pavement as an actor. I said, "You got any advice for someone like me that's starting out?" And he was like, "They're going to do everything they can." He didn't say who they were. And at first I was like, who are they? Who are they? So they are going to do everything they can to beat you down. They are going to try to destroy your confidence, your will, your joy. You got to stay tough and not let them, beat you down. And I was like, who are they? Who are all these days? And I didn't ask him, but I just said, oh, okay. Wow. It wasn't until later that it was like kind of more of in hindsight too, after I got kind of separated from the whole experience of working and being around the industry. I was on a set one time. I won't say where it was, but it was after I had done an Access show in character as Captain Badass. I had been on an Austin Access show, and it was as they were kind of starting to close. It was actually the original Austin Music Network before it was taken over by some other people when it was still public access. I did a show and I made a joke about the takeover, where it was going to be going. And it was me. I was trying to be funny. I was in character. I made a joke about the actual takeover. Later, weeks later, I'm on a set, and apparently somebody that had some involvement in that transaction recognized me and came up after I had done an audition, and they were a crew member working on this show, and they took something and they shoved it at me, at my stomach, and then made a comment about the joke. And they were like, I know that person went back to whoever I was auditioning for and said, so-and-so said this, and I don't think you should cast them for this part because of this joke they made. And they, so there's all kinds of, that's just an example of some of the shit. So later I kind of processed that, and that what he told me, it's like, that's the kind of stuff he's talking about. There's
Oh
always going to
yeah.
be people that are going to try to gaslight you because they're either in a position of a place. There's crew member. Now to defend that person, crew work can sometimes suck. I mean, there was a near strike in Hollywood because of bad working conditions for crew members. So, we talked about in superhero shows how you got to get in the gray area. Sometimes you see why the villain
Oh
became the
yeah.
villain and why the hero sometimes has still a dark side to what they do. Like Batman, there's still some darkness in Batman, even though he's considered the hero. But anyway, it's just like that in real life too. That crew member came after me, but and I was pretty hurt by that. And I was like, it's kind of gaslighting me a little bit. I felt like whatever. I was making a joke. I was just trying to be entertaining. It was nothing personal. It's done all the time. It wasn't even that big of a joke, like as far as being like malicious. But anyway, I think that crew members have tough working conditions and they get bitter sometimes because they have to work 15-hour shifts or 18-hour shifts and they're told to come back in after 3 hours of sleep and do more work. And the pay's not always that great always. And I know that makes conditions sometimes, work environments, and people get angry because they see the actor gets to sit on a bus, they get to hang out and lay around and play, video games or whatever until it's their time to be called on. So they're between talent and crew. There's sometimes that, and crew doesn't always appreciate, and the actors, the talent doesn't always appreciate the crew the way they should appreciate the crew and how they bring things to life and make the whole puzzle fit together. But anyway, I got it though. When he said that, I got it. So here's my question for you. Is this just a futile thing? Because the work environment is always going to be toxic entertainment industry because that's the nature of the business. Is this ridiculous? These things that are coming up with all these shows. You agree or disagree with that?
Man, I don't know if it's the exact answer to your question,
And
but
that might
man,
be the longest
yeah.
question. Agree or
Oh,
disagree
no
question ever.
problem, man. Man, most of the success I've had, man, the teeniest tiny toehold I've had, in the entertainment business, music and other things, is just being genuine as fuck. Be Steven Presley as fuck. To me, it's like things are meant to be happen. Things are not meant to be don't happen. As long as you put yourself in a position to succeed, if it's supposed to happen, it happens.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like, yeah, so that maybe that one wasn't supposed to happen.
Yeah.
But there's other stuff.
Yeah. Yeah, it's toughy. It's a tough thing. I mean, I would love it if we're coming to a greater place of enlightenment where people are going to be nicer to each other. That would be kind of cool. I would love that. A world where things are a little bit more, kinder and gentler. We need that. So I'm not totally against that either. Number two, agree, disagree. There's going to be an Austin Powers Super Bowl commercial that's going to be eco-friendly, environmental causes. I don't know all the details on it, but it's going to be one of the big Super Bowl commercials this year. It's going to reunite some of the players from Austin Powers. Do you think this will be a viral moment for Austin Powers and could be what boomerangs or pushes them into getting finally another Austin Powers movie or limited series on your favorite streaming app produced and made? Agree or disagree with that?
Yeah, it could be. It could be. Like, even though, like, I don't know, I was never a Austin Powers fan. Like, I do love some of the old James Bond and like these spy films.
Mm-hmm.
It never really hit that nerve for me with Austin Powers.
Mm-hmm.
But I could see a good reaction to that commercial turn into a streaming series or a limited series.
Got one more for you. The new Jurassic World will have a trailer on Super Bowl Sunday. Also, Jurassic World: Old Dominion, which is the third installment to that Jurassic World trilogy. It's going to reunite the original cast, the OG cast, with the Jurassic Park OG cast with the Jurassic World cast in one epic movie event. Will that movie surpass No Way Home at the box office, or no way that's going to happen? Agree or disagree? Because it's kind of a similar idea. It's bringing back old and putting them, a crossover event movie like that.
It could. It could. I still don't think anything like all the world building and just
Mm-hmm.
like the tie-ins. Like, I think No Way Home was just like a complete home run. Like,
Mm-hmm.
I think doing a similar thing with Jurassic Park could get in the neighborhood of that, but I don't think it could top No Way Home.
I think it's going to come in right. I agree. I'm going to come in. I think it comes in right behind it. It's going to be right behind it, but it won't. I don't think it's going to be Spider-Man. It's just a little bit bigger IP than Jurassic Park. Marvel, bigger IP. Okay, we're going to close it out. It's getting late, and Jazz won. You have anything you want to close it out with? You want to riff on something, or you want to do a poetry? Some poetry?
Man, I don't have anything written for that, but man, like I said, this is like the only episode of the year that we do that I don't feel bad talking about football, because like we can talk football all day. But yeah, man, I'm sadly my Saints didn't make it because of Los Angeles losing to the Niners, in which it's funny that they're in the Super Bowl now.
They screwed you again.
And I was at that Saints Rams NFC championship in 2020, early 2020. So it's like, man, ultimately I hope the Bengals win. I'm I don't know, to sometimes seeing like some of your favorite players in the pros, like seeing them in college is almost like the prequels. So I'm really hoping to see Joe Burrow get a Super Bowl ring.
Be quite a story. Be quite a story if it happens. I got a little bone to pick in my thoughts and advice for the NFL. You have they made the Super Bowl later than it's ever been played before. Now it crosses into Valentine's weekend, and I just think that now you're getting a little dangerous. Because am I right, or is it possible that it could actually fall on Valentine's Day in the future? Would the calendar work that way?
It could be. It's usually the first weekend of February, instead of like the second weekend.
They added one regular season game, and that's what happened. That's why it's now later, and the playoffs have been pushed back a week or advanced a week. And now they do take 2 weeks off between the last playoff game and the Super Bowl. But like this year, for example, my son is in preschool. They were doing Valentine's. They give out in school, they give out Valentine's. So we have to go and we write the names and fill out all the cards and put them. And by the way, we have a Star Wars Valentine that he's going to be handing out to his. And the Star Wars Valentine's got Grogu on the card. And then inside the card, it has a little tiny glow stick. It's a tiny lightsaber that comes with each Valentine. So we're putting these all together, but we did it last weekend because we said we don't want to be on Super Bowl Sunday dealing with all this. And that's the problem they've created now by putting Valentine's on Super Bowl weekend. It's just too many. It's too many big events on the same 2-day radius. It's just too many things. It's like if you put Christmas and Thanksgiving back to back, like on the same weekend. It's just two big holidays. You can't do that. You gotta, whoever at the NFL is probably like a jilted lover. Like they had broken up and they hated Valentine's.
Who hurt you?
Somebody got really hurt on Valentine's and was dumped. And now they're trying to take it out on the world by trying to ruin Valentine's. Hallmark should be suing the NFL for like trying to cut out their weekend a little bit. Anyway, I just think it's a disaster, and I think it's just gonna be a matter of time before they're gonna have to adjust. I don't know how they're gonna do it, but it's weird. It's just weird having it on Valentine's weekend. Anyway, that's my. I'll have to throw that in there in the bowl. And Jazz won. It's so lovely to see you. I know we're gonna close it out.
Oh man, it's so good to see you, man.
Love you, man. And everyone out there, have a great day. Hour, second, millisecond. We'll talk soon. See you later. Bye-bye. Let's I should have had my closeout ready to go before I did that.
Sorry, sir. I'm doing my best.
Oh. Thunderpop is a Hit the Bricks production.